Writing Center, and I'll let you take over.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name's Dr. Stephen Hearn. I'm a professor here at Acadia. I run the Writing Centre, and I also teach in the English department. Now, in Canada, English means literature, not English language, because the expectation is any student who comes to the university already is doing quite well as far as their English language skills go. So let me just share my screen, and I'm going to share a PowerPoint with you. Hi, Chris. Nice to see you. So I'm going to share this. And what I'm going to do today is go through I'm just going to take a moment to get the right file up. And Janet, once I get it up, if you could tell me whether you can see me in the bottom right corner.
I can actually see you in the top left corner.
Top left. Okay, perfect.
Yep.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some sort of general advice on how to succeed as a university student. Most of you are new to university in Canada, which is very similar to the United States. And I'm going to sort of talk about the Writing Centre, how it can help you and help all students. And then I'll teach you a little something. So this is called 5 Steps to Writing Success. I'll get to that after I introduce the Writing Centre. So, introduction, who am I and why am I here? As I said, I'm a professor in the Department of English. So I teach courses from first year all the way up to third, fourth, even master's level courses. And I tell you this because I'm also the coordinator of the Writing Centre. So I really know about marking, evaluating student work. I'm the one who gives grades that go in a transcript. So I say this because often students come to university and they go to their classes, but they don't make the extra effort to sort of reach out and find what other help is available. And the great thing about the Writing Centre, you'll have a copy of this presentation. You can see it in the YouTube channel. The Writing Centre offers free help to all Acadia students, and I'll talk a bit more about that. I am going to try to share well, anyway, there's the web. I won't bore you with the website. It's a nice website. So then I'm going to talk today about, after this introduction, how to write an essay for university. Now, some of you might say, I'm a science student. I'm going into professional studies. I don't really need to write essays. That can be true, but the thing is, all professors in a university course ask you to write something with paragraphs. And then, when I'm teaching a first year course, I might ask for 5 pages. By the time I'm teaching a senior course, I might be asking for 7 or 8 pages. So when I say essay, I mean a long piece of work that has multiple sections. And it's crucial to being successful is to know how to do that. Now, depending on where you're from, people are from different countries who come to different schools and countries, you may already sort of know how to write a standard essay. But if not, or even if you do, this is sort of a refresher. So I'll talk about that in a little bit. I'm also going to talk more generally about how to communicate effectively. One of the things I've found over the years as a professor is sometimes students coming out of high school, they don't really quite know yet how to interact professionally with their teachers. I mean, we're not teachers, we're professors. The classes tend to be fairly big. People don't know everybody. It's sort of formal. So I'll talk about that. And if you have any questions, just jump in. So first, an introduction to the Writing Centre generally. Here's our lovely logo. You can see. Janet, can you see my cursor on the screen?
Yes, I can.
You can. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So what I'll cover just for the first little bit is how to use who can use the Writing Centre and when, who we are and what services we offer, and how to book an appointment. Now, I know you're not going to be signing up today for an appointment for October, but I want to make sure that you have this sort of introduction so you can go back to it. Or if you're looking at this in September, like you're not here today, you'll know how to do it. Okay, so who can use the Writing Centre? Well, it's a free service available to every student at Acadia. As long as you're registered, it's free. And you can come as often as you want. When we get busy, we sort of ask people to come maybe once a week. It's not just for arts majors. By arts, I mean people writing an essay. It's for science students, professional studies, kinesiology, education, biology, all of that. It's not just for people who feel like they're struggling with writing. I mean, we certainly help with that, but what I found over the years, it's the best students who seek out to up their game, to make their game even better. They come to us. Guess what? It's the third year students who are the A students who come in September. It's not somebody who waits till they're failing. But anyway, I just wanted to make that clear and reaching out and finding things to help you in the world is a way to succeed. Um, The Writing Center can help you with any written assignment, a lab report, a business case study. What we don't help with is creative writing. If you want to write some poems, that's something different. We can also help a bit with professional writing if you're working on a cover letter or a resume. It's best to go first we have a good career services department, so they can help you as well. So, well, when should you use a writing center? Well, it's your choice. You can get the assignment from your professor. You don't know how to begin or focus your ideas. Always go talk to them to make sure, if you have, and then you start working on it. You come see us. More often when you've done some work, you've written some stuff, and you maybe even have a full draft, like you've got your 3 or 4 pages or 10 pages, and you want to know how it can be improved. My tutors, and I'll talk about this in a minute, are very carefully trained. They too are university students, and they're like teaching assistants, and I've trained them. Also, of course, when you're unsure how to fix writing errors that have been pointed out to you, what often happens is a student comes, they're new, they're here for the first term, they get stuff back from professors, they get feedback. The second term, they think, oh yeah, I really sort of have to get a little bit more help, a little bit more advice on, grammar and stuff like that. And as I said, if you're doing other things, and I often help students who are applying for scholarships. These are often 3rd or 4th year students. And the other thing just to say is that our service is confidential. We don't work for the professors, we work for you. We don't report back. I as a full professor myself, I've got that right. So this is all confidential. Well, who works at the Writing Center? Some really nice people. These were some of our tutors from last year. Some of them are coming back. Some of them graduated. I've hired a bit more people, a team of trained peer tutors, and me. So as I said, I'm the Writing Center coordinator and an English professor. So, these tutors are all senior students, 3rd or 4th year, sometimes master's students who are really high performing students, and they really are interested in learning how to teach other students how to write. And so I train them very intensively so they really know what they're doing. And I've been doing this for 20 years now, and I've trained 115 or so tutors, and I hire almost all of them back. So you can trust this service, and it's free, like I said. So what services do we offer? Well, I give presentations on essay writing skills throughout the year. Consider coming to those. There's one in September. You'll get an email about that. It's your Acadia email. Check your Acadia u.ca email for those kind of things. The big service is really one-to-one, one-on-one peer tutoring with one of my tutors. And that 25-minute, you can book online, a time that you want, then you're sure you'll have a tutor. You just do this through Moodle. That's a very international course management system. So you'll learn all about Moodle, but it's very easy, and I'll show you in a minute. You can also just drop in. If you're in the library, we're in the library, by the way, you come in the library, you turn left, or right down the hall. Maybe you walk by, you got your classes in an hour, and you want to talk to a tutor. If they're free, if there's nobody there, you can drop in. They might be waiting for somebody who's booked an appointment, but they're happy to spend 5 minutes with you, 20 minutes, 45 minutes if they have the time. It's always better to book ahead, but you don't have to. So how to attend a presentation. So this is a little technical. I just want to touch on this. So once I get it all set up for the fall, we're still in July today, but pretty soon, within 3 weeks, I'll have this all up. I will post online. It's a web-based thing. My sessions. So here's one from a few years ago. Yeah, how to get an A, tips from a prof. That's one I do. So you'll get an email about this, and you can just click on the link, go in, sign up. Same thing with booking a writing tutorial. Again, this is on Moodle. It used to be called Acorn, but it's just Moodle. Most or many of your courses, your professors will put a lot of the course information and assignments up online in this. It's a protected course management system. You're probably used to this from high school. It's not Google Docs, it's something different. Anyway, you can sign up, and that's to sign up for any one-to-one session that I was just talking about. And here, for example, from a few years ago, the first week, and we'll do this year, you can see here on Thursday, September 17th, there were a bunch of appointments. And all you literally have to do is click on book slot, bam, it's booked. You get a confirmation email. And the day before, you get a reminder. So that's another reason to check your Acadia email. And if somebody doesn't show up twice, they get suspended, and then they just have to have a chat with me to say, yeah, I'll show up to my appointments. You can also cancel, but you have to cancel a few hours ahead because we have a lot of business. Acadia has, including graduate students, about 4,000 students, 3,900. So that's a lot of people coming. Finally, writing can be hard, but you're not alone. We're here to help. This is a slightly dated Game of Thrones reference, but meme. So here's more information. We're on Moodle. We also have an Instagram account. Just look for Acadia Writing Centre. Now, does anyone have any questions? I can't quite see who's here. If you have any questions about what we do, I'm going to stop screen sharing. Hi, Chris, Isam, and Anita. I just want to say hi. You don't have to jump in and talk, but if you have any questions as we go, let me know.
I'll also just mention too that if someone doesn't want to sort of get on their mics and ask a question, they can always post their question in the chat link.
Great. Thank you, Jen.
So, yeah.
Good. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my presentation. So as I promised, what I'm going to do now is talk a little bit about teach you some stuff, basically. And okay, so let's learn something about how to be a successful student in university. That depends a lot on showing up. I mean, that's obvious, and following the instructions the professor gives you, and that means writing something down or doing it in your iPad or typing it on your phone. I always say, it doesn't really matter how you track information, just do it in a way that you'll remember to look. Like it's not helpful if in my Apple, iPhone, I tend to use the notes function. And I have to remember to go in and double check. It's also really important to have some kind of calendar, even if you're using Outlook or Apple Mail. I'm not sure if Apple Mail has a calendar, but just to track when things are due. Certainly when your classes are, where they are. The first week, you're trying to figure out where the buildings are. There's a really good campus map with all the buildings on the Acadia website. I recommend that you download that, maybe even print it. So showing up and following instructions, being a good writer. Oh, my GIF, these are animated. They're not working on Teams, but you'll recognize, well, the character on the from SpongeBob. So being a good writer. And by the way, good writing is necessary, even if you're in engineering, even if you're a math major, you have to write. Like I, as an English major, didn't have to do any math, but all science students have to write. They have to write lab reports, they have to write. So it's really important to, keep in mind that working on writing it's a lifelong craft. I'm continually working on it. All your professors publish, they publish articles and books, and that's a big part of their job. That's how they finish their PhD and their master's degree, and before that, their undergrad. So they are all professional writers. They doesn't mean that they all can explain to somebody else what's gone wrong. That's why you come to us. So step one, show up. Go to every class. Be there to learn, which means being prepared. If there were readings, a chapter reading, do it ahead of time. Take some notes. Show up. For many people, this is very, very different from high school, at least Canadian high school or American. I find often that students from other countries are better actually prepared to know how to focus and study. I'm sorry, I'm selling out my Canadian compatriots, but be there to learn. And be there, if you're there, when the professor talks about an upcoming assignment, you're there for them. You take notes, they're explaining it. Now, any major assignment, by major, I mean it's worth 5% or 10% of the course, you will get something in writing instructions, usually, put on the course management site, Moodle. And so you'll have it. And, I always say, print it out, circle the action words, figure out when is this due? What am I supposed to do? How long should it be? How many pages? Do I have to, use any sources other than just my thinking? As you become a more and more senior student, there's more and more reading what other people have said. That's called research. But for you, if not everyone who will look at this presentation is going into first year, but most of you are. So be there. Be sure you know what your prof wants. Read over the assignment requirements a couple of times. Like read it there in your class. Go home, pull it out tomorrow, read it again. And here are some questions to ask yourself. Are the expectations clear? In other words, do you know what the prof wants here? Like, what is the assignment asking you? If not, ask a friend, maybe a friend in a class. Like, do you get this? Or if you're not sure, though, always talk to the professor because your friend is not the person running the course. If it's a quick question, you can email the course instructor, the professor. If it takes a conversation, just visit. Now, at Acadia, we all have, they're called office hours. Every professor has to have two, they're in their office, and everyone knows, like they're posted on the door and up, two for each course. So if I'm teaching 3 courses, I have 6 office hours, and any of my students from many of my courses can come. I've been finding over the last couple of years that very, very few students come to talk to me in an office hour. It's not required, but it's a real missed opportunity. And I say this in class carefully, and still almost nobody comes except the top performing students. You want to get an A, show up, talk to the professors, double check. And by the way, that's not about, to use Canadian slang, it's not about sucking up to it, or it's just having a conversation that can help you really understand, especially, let's say you're halfway through the assignment and you say to the professor after class, can I just drop by and I've got some ideas. I always say, sure. Not everyone does, because they might say, I'm gonna grade this, but most of us are glad, and it's never wrong to ask. If you're still not clear what's expected, it's better to deal with it at the start before you put in a lot of work for nothing. And I see this sometimes, that somebody hands in an assignment, it's not actually what I'm asking for. And the thing about the university, it's not like, middle school or even high school. You really have to do what's required. So if somebody hands in something that's not what I asked for, then I'm not going to give it much as far as grades go. So it's good. And what I'm doing here today is trying to give you some advice before you face certain situations. We're a very friendly campus. The professors, instructors are all very glad to see you. I do get to know my students, especially the majors. It's also a very big campus. We've got a lot of buildings. We've got 4,000 students. So you'll be in rooms where you really don't know everyone else. That's okay. You'll make friends. You'll get to know people. So then you're working on your assignment. Let's say it's an essay. and I'll come up with some topics. So then think about it and think, well, how am I going to narrow this? What am I going to write about? Once you've understood what's required, think about the topic. In an essay, generally, you need to develop a claim about the topic. So you're not just going to talk about the topic. That's sort of grade 8, grade 9, ninth grade. You have to come to the point where you can assert an opinion about the topic. And I'll give you some examples in a minute. So you'll come up with an argument whose validity, like you're going to prove that it's right. That's university. Some people have experience of this in grade 11 or 12. Not everyone does. Often in high school, you're asked to talk about a topic, describe it. We want more than that. So you have a topic, you've decided, let's say what I often do when I'm teaching a 1000 level course, mainly first year students, I will give a choice of 3. You choose one of these 3 or these 4. So I will create choices. You choose one, you go away and think about it and write an essay. So you might think about it, you might read some more. Then you want to make sure that whatever, so now I'm teaching you some strategies. Whatever you come up with, let's say I've asked you to write a 5 or 6 page essay on a topic. You want to make sure that you can fill the 5 or 6 pages, but not be too big, because you're never really going to be able to deal with the topic. Let me give you an example. Make sure it's not too broad, not too narrow, but just right. So here's some thesis statement. Sorry, draft an appropriate thesis statement. Now, thesis statement is a statement of your argument. What are you going to claim about this? Here's some possible examples to think about. And my question to you is, which of these 3 is the statement of argument or thesis that you can really prove? I'm not really having a conversation here, so I'll give you a minute. The one that's really bad is B. That is not an argument. It's just a statement of fact. A is way too big. Well, what technology? What do you mean by enrich? C is good. It's very narrow. Laptops, we could say iPads, we could say iPhones, help students learn more effectively for several reasons. What that does is it asserts a claim. I could argue the opposite. Laptops don't help students learn. See, for something to be a statement of argument, there has to be a way to argue against it. For several reasons. That's nice because it gives a roadmap. I know you're going to talk about, here's a reason, there's a reason, there's another reason, wrap it up. Ta-da, you've written an essay. You're going to have some details in there too. So then you've got an idea. You're thinking about your several reasons. Then what you do is you draft an outline and a thesis. Now, what I'm going to do here is show you the standard structure of an essay. I'm just going to, so you have a title. By the way, when you put a title on something and hand it in to somebody, don't call it Lab Report 1. Don't call it Essay 1. You have to give it a title that has something to do with the content. So laptops are very beneficial in the classroom. That's not a great title, but at least it's not Essay 1. Because guess what? When I'm teaching a class and I ask, I'm going to have 52 essays coming in. They can't be called Essay 1. Everyone's writing Essay 1. You give it a title. This is the same with all your work. So then we've got introductory paragraph. This funny little mark means paragraph. So you have a general topic sentence, and then you narrow in. People have argued about technology, whether it's good for education. Some people say it's good. Some people say it's bad. Overall, the use of laptops in the classroom is beneficial because, and then you give your reason 1, reason 2, reason 3. That's a beautiful introduction, because then I know what you're going to do for the next, for the body of it. And what we call what comes next is a body paragraph, where you say something like, one of the reasons that laptops in the classroom is a good idea is they allow students to do research on the internet. Another reason it allows them, maybe that's my first one, the next one could be another reason why laptops are helpful is it allows students to take notes. You could probably come up with a third. That is the classic essay structure, the North American essay, English, and then the conclusion sums up. You're wrapping it up. You're putting a bow on the gift. What you're not doing is bringing in any new information. But the classic way, the best way to start a paragraph there is in conclusion, comma. That's called signposting. You're giving the reader, who's not in your head, the reader signposts about, okay, so, oh, I'm thinking, oh, you're wrapping up in conclusion, da 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 da. And what you do is you do a quick, you repeat your overall argument. In conclusion, overall, laptops in the classroom are good for students' education. Repeat your thesis statement in your conclusion. You may, like me, remember being in grade 9, grade 10, and a teacher saying, just repeat your thesis, and say, what, really? Do it in other words? Yes, because if you do anything else there, it's just irrelevant. It's coming out of left field. And then you can repeat your reasons a little bit. And this is, so this, whether you're in first year or in fourth year, my students, when they're in fourth year in a course, they're having to write a 12-page essay. Essentially, it's much more complicated, and they're reading all sorts of articles and books and bringing them. But essentially, this is still the logical structure. If you went into an English language high school in Canada or the US, you might have heard about the 5-paragraph essay. Yes, this is it. My daughter went to school in Nova Scotia in grade 4, and in grade 9, they were taught this. Yes, do it. You can make it 9 pages long. Some other professors in other departments or some other teachers would roll their eyes and say, oh, the 5-paragraph essay. But if you don't have a logical structure like this, I, as a reader, can't follow you because you're just telling me some stuff, some facts and details. You have to have a case. Pretend you're a defense lawyer in a courtroom. Your Honor, sorry, members of the jury, my client is not guilty because he wasn't there. Reason 1, reason 2, reason 3. Therefore, my client isn't guilty. You can't just throw some facts at me without me knowing why you're doing it. So when I said earlier, university is about argument, about making a claim, proving a case. That's the higher level capacity that employers want. Why do people like to hire university graduates? I believe, I've been doing this for a long time. It's mainly because they know how to think logically, make a case, sell a product, analyze things. So as I said, you're thinking about the topic still. You've got that essay structure in your head. You're thinking about 3 or 4 reasons why your overall claim or argument is right. Here's the formula. Using laptop computers in courses is or is not, you choose, a good idea because they are A, B, and C. You could argue for, you could argue against. I can't really ask you here because we're not really having a conversation, but when I say to my students, what's a reason why having a laptop or an iPhone in the classroom is a bad idea? The first thing they say is it's a distraction. I don't have any other negatives. Maybe it's a distraction, it's a distraction, it's a distraction. Capital punishment is wrong or right. You decide for many reasons. The most important reasons are that it is this, this, and this. Now, these would be for different courses. The first one could be in computer science, maybe. The second one in sociology or political science. It doesn't matter. The structure of an essay is the same. So then you write a draft. Now, I've only got 5 steps, so I'm on number 4 here. Write a draft, and a draft just means I'm going to try to fill my 5 pages. Introduction, some of these body sections, where I talk about the reasons, give some details, and then I wrap it up, right, with a conclusion. I'm going to first tell you about a myth about writing, and this is to help you as you're coming into university. A myth. A myth is that to make sense, an essay or an assignment should be written in order from beginning to end. Introduction, go through. Nobody writes an essay straight through unless she has to. That is, if it's an exam situation. Now, some of you, depending upon your major, what courses, most people have an exam at the end of the term, and there's an exam period. You get time to study. So you'll go to a classroom or the gym, and you'll sit there and you'll have 3 hours. Now, if for anyone taking a course in the arts or social sciences, so English, philosophy, political science, and quite a few others, you probably have to write an essay as part of the exam. And of course, you're only there for 3 hours. Like, you've got to figure out, I always say to my students, try to give yourself an hour and a quarter for the essay. And I know that you don't have much time because it's an exam. You have to write it straight through. But what often happens until people learn better, is they leave it too late. I would say that the biggest challenge you will generally face coming in is learning how to focus and learning how to up your game, which means not doing the assignment on the bus on the way into school in grade 12, which I did sometimes. And I did pretty well. The standards here and the expectations at university are higher. So, as one would say, using Canadian slang, cranking out an essay the night before will produce something that's not very good and might get a D. You're lucky to get a C minus. By the way, the average grade for first year students, first term, is probably about a 68%, which is a C plus. That's a shock when people coming out of Canadian high schools often get 90s and 80s. I'm not sure if you're from another country what the standards are, but don't be surprised if you go from having a 92 average down to a 72. That's perfectly respectable. There's room to improve. I can see my students' grades go up. The key thing that I want to say, because you're looking at this video or you're here today, which means you're a conscientious person already, is just make sure you hand stuff in on time. It'll be fine. Write down the deadlines in a calendar, know when things are due. Most professors, we give penalties for late. We really do. That's a big shock for some Canadian kids coming from different provinces where, like, you can hand something in till the final day of class. Not here. That's not how it works in the professional world. I'm saying all this not to freak you out, but just so you know coming in, just focus, have fun, meet people, do other things, get some exercise, do something that's not about school, volunteer if you can, but try not to leave things to the last minute. Get them going. Just get something going, and you can walk away for a few days. You do something in another class, you walk away. It's never good at 5 p.m. to start work on something. I mean something that's worth a lot, like 10%, 15% of your grade for the whole term. Little things. You're studying for a quiz that's tomorrow, and a quiz is worth 2%. Yeah, but I'm talking about where you have to write a bunch of paragraphs. You want to do it, start a week, 2 weeks ahead. Don't finish it then, but just get it going. Keep things going in your different classes. So being organized is a big part of success. In fact, it could be the number one. It's not being smart, it's being organized. Everyone's smart. Everyone who comes here. I don't think I've ever met a student who shouldn't be at university, who is at university, because they weren't smart enough. We have a lot of students come in who aren't quite mature enough, and like me, when I was 18, they learn. But the thing is, try not to fail anything, which is usually about not coming to class, not following instructions, not paying attention, not being organized. It's pretty easy to do pretty well and then start improving, and come to the Writing Centre is a big part of it. So the final polished, okay, back to nothing's written by choice in one sitting in order. The final polished product that you hand in in a course is written in various pieces. You put it together as you worked on it. A good essay is written in parts. You're working on this reason about okay, here's another reason. Let me think. Laptops. Yeah, they're really good for doing research in class. So what would that be? So you're thinking about that. And then you go away, you have lunch, you come back. Well, what's another reason? They're good for taking notes. So think about that. And then at the end, then you rewrite your introduction, you see what I mean. So the final step, once you've got a draft written, is to revise it and proofread. Let me just define these things. And I think I only have 2 slides left. So print your document. I do recommend that you buy a cheap printer at Staples, 69 bucks or whatever, have it in your room, or maybe a friend will have one. You can also do printing at the Acadia, the library, the Vaughan Library. Print it out, walk away for the day, do something else, watch some Netflix, go work out, be on a team, see some friends, come back the next morning. You've got it printed out. You've got your 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 pages. And with a pen in your hand, just go through. And any time you get lost or you just circle it. Because of course, if I'm their professor, when I'm grading it, I will hit those moments too. So circle it, go all the way through. You'll have a fresh perspective. You may realize, I should add a couple of sentences there. I should add a couple of more details. I should move the order. Maybe that final reason, I want to make that at the top. So this is called revising, looking over. It comes from the French réviser, to look again at something. The best writers are always sort of rewriting, fixing up. I don't mean just little fixing up spelling. That's important. That's proofreading. Okay, so that's the way it makes it better. And then what you're doing is making sure your whole piece of work is unified. Is everything here relevant? Sometimes people, they'll put in a fact or something, and when they reread it, they realize, this was interesting, but it's not relevant, so I should just cut it. Is it coherent? This is the big one. Is it logically organized? Does it flow from one thing to another? The essay structure I gave you with the paragraphs, that's key. Having signposts like another reason, a final reason, one reason, another reason, the final reason. Like those sentences will be separated by some pages as you're talking about, or one reason. But I know, okay, this is your final reason. And then you're going to wrap up with in conclusion. You may be sitting there thinking, oh my, that's such a formula. But I'll tell you, here's the thing about the professional world. It's not about you. It's about the reader who is not with you, doesn't know what you're thinking. You have to make them feel smart by laying it out logically for them, spoon feeding them. They will feel smart. They will feel great. They will know you actually have articulated a clear argument, and they will give you a high mark. A mark is just an indication of the quality. Also, this is more, especially as you advance in other years, you're going to have to, you'll get data, you'll get quotations from other sources. So to notice problems, you need to read your document, what you've written, as objectively as possible, as if it's not yours, like you're somebody else. And I would say you want to be an editor, like a sort of cranky person who's not very patient. Try not to read your own work. Just it'll flow because you wrote it. Try to come back and be a little impatient and then circle any error. Why I say this is because professionals are focused on the quality of the final product. You want the final product that goes out in the world to be the best you can do, because once it leaves your hands, if you print it out and hand it in, or upload it to Moodle or email it, it's out of your hands. You can't explain, oh, well, here's what I meant. As I said at the beginning, or said, becoming a good writer in these ways takes a lot of practice. It takes time. I do it for a living, so I find it gratifying, but it's a constant interesting and sometimes frustrating process. But when you nail it and somebody else says, wow, that's clear, then it's very gratifying. To be a professional out in the world 10 years from now, regardless of what you're doing, this is what it's about. More than anything, communicating with strangers and teaching them something or giving them something, not friends. And that's why an employer pays you. The top managers and the top developers, they're being paid huge amounts of money. I don't mean Elon Musk. That's not the conversation, but because they can communicate with people and manage people and communicate with clients, which means thinking logically in these ways. I'm not trying to just make this all relevant or relatable, but that is important. So you become the editor, not the writer. Take some time away from it. Think like a reader. Fix anything that doesn't make sense. Cut anything that goes on too long. Don't be obsessively attached to your words. Be ruthless. That means like what matters is the quality of the final product. So make those changes, spell check it, fix any typos, you might have grammar things, print it again, come see us at the Writing Centre at this stage or earlier if you want, because we will find errors in your writing. We all make errors, and my staff know how to explain what's gone wrong, why it matters, and how to fix it for the future. They don't correct your work, they teach you, how to make it better. Because we're teachers, we're not just fixers. Plus, they can't do that kind of work because it's unethical. Okay, so then, final thing, proofread. Go over it slowly, looking for small errors. Have a friend look it over just to double check. If you want, hand it in on time. Feel like you've accomplished something. Every time you've taught yourself something about a topic by thinking through the issues, forming an opinion, and expressing yourself clearly. I'm always amazed. I mean, I didn't get this when I was an undergraduate student. Really, students are in many ways teaching themselves. When I say to my students, okay, your essay's due in a month, here are the topics, they go away, they do the work, they hand it in, I read it. Now, in class, we're talking about similar things, but they really are doing it on their own. And this is about becoming an independent professional person. Another reason why employers like university graduates. And then wait to get now that was supposed to bounce in. Did it bounce in? My animation's not working. Great grade. Okay, that was a lot. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see you too if you want. Any questions? Janet, do you have any questions?
No, but that was a brilliant presentation. I actually learned quite a bit myself.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, Anitha, or Sam, thank you, Sam. Thanks for the thumbs up. I'm around. If the three of you or anyone else who sees this is in the BAC, that's one of our buildings. I'm up on the 4th floor in the English department. Just drop by anytime. And of course, when you see the Writing Centre open, we open in early September. Again, we're just inside the library, just down the hall. There'll be big signs saying welcome and arrows. Just come in and say hi to a tutor and say, trying to figure out how it works, or I'm working on something. We also have that website, so there's a lot of information there. Yeah. Okay.
And I can just remind students that are on here today, if you don't have any questions, but you'd like to rewatch this presentation, it's going to be uploaded to the Wong International Center's YouTube channel. So if you Google Wong International Center YouTube, you'll find this session along with all the sessions we've had since May on our channel. And I thank you very, very much for joining us today and giving us this presentation, Stephen. It was very interesting.
Right, it was my pleasure. Thanks, Janet, and good luck, everyone. Okay. See you when you're here. Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.